Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Maika Isogawa to our show. As the CEO of Webacy, she's on a mission to make self-custody safer and easier for both crypto natives and crypto newbies. Her company's cutting-edge tools and services are changing the game when it comes to protecting your digital assets. Please remind me to ask her about Webacy's panic button and dead man switch. But here's the thing. Maika is not just a tech founder. She's a former professional acrobat and performer for the legendary Cirque Du Soleil. She attended Stanford University specializing in artificial intelligence. With an engineering background, this Forbes 30 Under 30 lister knows what it takes to be at the top of her game. She's worked for cybersecurity startups, helped protect the government's digital infrastructure, and was a cybersecurity engineer for Microsoft. Born in Tokyo, Japan, and raised between Minnesota and Tokyo, Maika is a fantastic example of a true global citizen. So without further ado, Maika, welcome to the Immutable Mindset.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I really want to start the show and dive in and start with childhood in Japan. So as we were talking before our show, I said that we had a commonality. And the commonality is that I actually grew up in Japan from 11 to 17 myself near Yokohama. So, Japan and culture are near and dear to my heart. And we know that culture is so profoundly important to our Web3 space, given all the groups that are being formed around NFTs and blockchains and Web3. And, it's not something that you can just read in a book like going to Japan. So I'm curious, are there any particular experiences or lessons from your upbringing in Japan that you believe were especially valuable to your journey as a Web3 founder?
This is a great topic, and I have a lot of questions about Kevin growing up. During his teenage years in Japan, that must have been quite a trip. Yeah, I think the East has a lot of, the East is very much active in crypto and Web3 nowadays, right? And the perspectives and the approach maybe mirrors the cultural differences. And as you know, since you grew up partially in Japan as well, the cultural differences are quite stark between the United States and Japan. And the things you hear, for example, Japan is more of a collectivist culture. It's true for the most part, whereas American is more independent or, self-focused. So if I had to think about a couple things that might have affected my Web3 founder journey, that might be part of it, right? So thinking about the company before putting myself first, thinking about the team's well-being and what we're doing within the perspective of the entire ecosystem rather than just focusing on, us and exactly what we're doing. And so I think those lessons, albeit broad, definitely permeate throughout the entire, Web3 entrepreneurship journey.
And that permeation, you talk about the collective and community. That's, supremely interesting, especially in Asian cultures, because that's what it is. It's just a bunch of small communities, very localized feeling. Again, Web3 really feels the same way, especially in a bear market where we're all coming together. Sticking to Japan, how do you think you were influenced, or how was your perspective influenced on the importance of community and the collective, and how's that translated to your time in Web3?
Yeah, if you look at Web3 now, it's a lot about decentralization, especially with the bear market, right? People are coming together, helping one another. Competition's still out there, but I think it's very positive in a way. Like let's hype each other up. It's more like a rivalry that you'd see in some of those growth time TV shows that you like to watch growing up. And I feel that to be very true. Within the Japanese network itself, though, within Web3 is really taking Japan is taking quite a big stance on Web3. I think they see it as an opportunity to not only leverage the cultural piece, because you think about Azuki and all of the art that is influenced by Japanese culture. It's quite successful, but nobody on the Azuki team is Japanese. So I think that there is some desire to kind of capitalize on the opportunity that Web3 presents in Japan. But beyond that, there's a decentralization. I think people are realizing the power of bringing influence back to the people that are actually the ones supporting a network and supporting a platform.
And just to follow up on that, just curious, have you been to Japan recently, and have you been able to see some of the development in Web3 and some of the creative things that they're bringing to Japan?
Totally. Japan's popping off. So I think also the interest in entrepreneurship among young people is growing quite a bit. And I think that's due to some really inspirational people talking about the opportunities more in Japan. But I was most recently there for New Year's, and New Year's is not like American New Year's in Japan. The country kind of shuts down. It's supposed to be time for you to spend with your family and be at home and not be working, versus, America's partying, which both are great. But when I was there most recently in the summer last year, they have all kinds of conferences, meetups, hackathons. I know that ETH Tokyo and I think DAO Tokyo is happening also in April-ish timeline. But there's a lot of energy going on in Japan for Web3 right now.
Coming out of the pandemic, a lot of folks, or younger folks, being remote and distributed really helps to it. Global travel, people working from all over the world certainly adding to it.
Absolutely.
And kind of, moving off Japan and moving us forward to one of the things I mentioned in my intro was you being a Cirque Du Soleil performer. And so there was an interesting parallel, I think, between your career trajectory being security and risk management and that actual, like the decision you had to make between going to Stanford and Cirque Du Soleil. And so I'll give a quick background. So in making that choice, you had a 2-year cushion where if you chose to go to Cirque Du Soleil versus Stanford, you had kind of that risk mitigation. Given that our advice to young people is to YOLO, to risk it all, and just to go out there and give it a try, how much of a factor was having that 2-year cushion and be able to mitigate the risk of choosing Cirque Du Soleil?
I think that having that cushion gave me the freedom to make the choice that I might have otherwise not. It's hard to say because I think if I were to think back, I would choose it again over and over because it was such a great experience. But it's funny, I make this joke with my family quite a bit because I'm actually quite risk averse, which is funny considering my career choices of starting a company and also working for Cirque du Soleil as an aerialist, another risky kind of job choice even within that context. But yeah, it's calculated risk, as my father likes to say. So with the whole leaving Stanford thing, they have a great gap year program. Many colleges do. But yeah, I mean, if you think about young people nowadays, there's less risk to do things or try things now because you don't have kids or family or, for the most part, too many responsibilities other than keeping yourself alive.
I have a question about that time there in Cirque du Soleil. What is something, like looking back on it now, that they really instilled with you either through the experiences, through the training that you're applying now to building out your own company?
The biggest thing would probably be quality. So everyone I worked with, and I always had a little bit of an imposter syndrome, like I think everyone does when they go work with the best people in the world at what they do, no matter what category that is. But every day I would go, and I'm working with acrobats that are literally the number one in the world at whatever act or discipline they're performing. And so to see their dedication, their professionalism, their attention to detail in everything that they do, which makes them the best at what they do, makes what they do look so easy, even though you know it's so hard. And I've taken that, I think, and I want to bring that to everything that I do. So that sense of not striving for perfection, but quality and excellence.
Is that something that comes down from the top, from the founder, from Guy Liberté? Does it come all the way down and into everything that goes into it? That quality control, the just bringing the best to the audience and showing up every single day.
It's interesting to think about. I think culturally it's instilled. So that must have been from the foundation of, Guy founding it so many years ago. But I think individually too, when I was there, they were choosing people who brought that quality in. So it was both self-selecting from either side.
Do you think in a parallel world, had you chosen Stanford as opposed to Cirque du Soleil, that you'd still be doing what you're doing now in Web3?
Oh, it's so hard to say. I mean, I did end up going back to Stanford, and Stanford's such a big entrepreneurial community. It's tough to say because, yeah.
And I say that, I brought that up because when I was researching your background, what's funny is I thought I would find out that you got interested in Web3 and crypto from Stanford, like some class you took or some conference or something. But it was actually through Cirque du Soleil. It was the creatives there. I heard they were even, there's people mining Bitcoin as early as like 2014, 2015.
Yeah. Do you ever think about those moments in your past life where you think, wow, if I chose a different path, like where would I be? Like, there's so many movies about this, and it's wild to think about. But this is one of those moments where I think back, I'm like, you know what? I was introduced to crypto on tour with Cirque du Soleil, which is so random. And Stanford now has courses on blockchain and Bitcoin, but maybe it would have been a different approach to it. Maybe I would have been more into research and going to get my PhD or something completely off the beaten path.
And advancing that forward, so obviously, at Cirque du Soleil is where you kind of got your upbringing into crypto, started learning more about Bitcoin and everything. I'm curious about your thoughts into creating Webacy, and moving on to that portion. How did your engineering background impact the start of Webacy? You hear so much about engineers having a first principles thought process. What was the process of iterating and figuring out what the product was and who it is ultimately for?
It was definitely a journey and a combination of things. I think there was a big exploratory phase at the beginning of starting Webacy, but we knew that the impact was there, the need for a solution into the security space and the management space for digital assets in general was there. For me, it actually kind of came from a philosophical place. I'm kind of betting on the idea that eventually a lot of our real world assets, our identity even, could have blockchain representatives of what it is. So when you think ahead, like 50 years from now, maybe instead of passing on your house to your children through paperwork, you're doing it through some sort of blockchain technology, right? We're already seeing California is announcing that they're doing car titles on chain, and they're trialing that. A house was sold as an NFT, right? So we're starting to see inklings of it. That's why I was so interested in blockchain in general, because I think it could solve a lot of identity issues, authentication issues, history issues, and so on. And so that's the vision and the future of Webacy I see as we're building out something as simple as just passing on your crypto or protecting your crypto in case of hacks and scams and so on. So it's a big vision kind of thing that we've siloed down into what Webacy is today, but I think there's a lot of opportunity.
I think it's a good moment for me just to kind of share my experience with you and Brian Wong, who introduced me to you and to your brand. So I've known Brian for a number of years. He's always been someone. He was a client of mine, one of my earlier clients in the recruiting world, and someone I looked up to. His book, The Cheat Code, is fantastic too for anyone out there to check out. Quick plug, Brian. So there you go. So Brian first brought up Webacy. We were at VCon in May of last year, and we were at a dinner, and he brought it up, and I'm like, and I'm still a noob now, but like really new back then. And I'm like, you know what? This concept is amazing. I think about like Norton LifeLock, something that's going to protect me and my assets. And I don't know what I'm getting into. And I remember the first time like I experienced a wallet, I think I sent money the wrong direction. And finally, I got into the beta and I tested the product out, and it was instant, right? It was like instant. I saw once that transaction went through, I got a text, I got an email, and I was like, this is exactly what we need right now for the safety and security. And I've been preaching it. I mean, once I told Kevin about it, he's like, this is what we need right now. So it's exciting to see that this is the early days and see where it's going to go. And I'm sure Kevin's going to take us down the road of what's in store for the future.
Well, since you kind of keyed in on it, so let's talk about Webacy. Just broadly speaking, what is Webacy and what was the impetus for creating it?
Webacy today is the protection layer for self-custody. And I appreciate you, Adam, for utilizing Wallet Watch, and I'm glad it's useful already at its earliest stages.
So useful.
Good. Good. It's been useful for me too. The other day I was presenting something and I got a message about a transaction within my wallet, and I can immediately check it and make sure it wasn't something malicious, but I digress. We've built out a suite of security tools to help users better protect their self-custody assets. So we specifically work with things like MetaMask, your Ledger, your Arculus wallet, hardware, software wallets, whatever it is, as long as you are self-custodying it, we can help you protect it. And the thing that makes us unique is that we're not a wallet ourselves, so you never need to move anything into us. We're not a vault. And the best thing is, from a security standpoint, that we don't take your seed phrase, your private keys, your passwords, or anything. So there's no risk of us having access to any of your stuff.
You are non-custodial.
Exactly. So we wanted to build it this way for all kinds of reasons, but in general, we've built a couple different products in the security suite. They all kind of fit together in a certain beautiful way. And with the Wallet Watch product being pretty much our entry point for users, we're going to kind of build and continue to build value for our holders as well as our consumers and our customers and partners.
What was that discussion as you guys were developing in terms of whether to custody or go non-custody?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is regulation, right? As a custodial, you are liable for other things that you don't necessarily want to be, especially as a small startup. We just don't have the resources to have licenses and to be able to manage all of that from a legal perspective. So that's one. And then for number two, thinking about the user experience that I desire, I don't even want to deal with seed phrases. I don't want to deal with custody. I just want to know that I own my stuff, and if Wells Fargo shuts down, I still have my money, you know?
Yeah, us degens aren't that different. We still want to know where things what's happening out there with our stuff too. And you know, to that end, let's give our audience a real life situation, and I can give you one, and then maybe you can help me and help the audience understand how Webacy would help solve this issue. So this is a real life situation that happens within Web3 all the time, and it happened to us last year. So last year, unfortunately, my little brother passed away, and before he passed away, he was a prolific degen. He bought coins and crypto everywhere: Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, all the dexes, Uniswap, everywhere. So we're doing all that end of life stuff, and my wife and my mother are coming over to me, and they're giving me all these apps, and they're asking me what customer service to reach out to, where's the number, like who do we call, who's the governor, who can we, right? And I'm just trying to explain to them, like, it's gone, guys. Like if we don't have the network passcode, if we don't have the password, like it's just gone. There's nothing we can do. And there was nothing I could do to explain to them that there's a way to recover it. For a situation like this where, it happens all the time, where people are putting all this information and you're not taking the time to explain to your wife or your loved one, or even if you do, they might not even understand how to do any of this stuff because it's so complex. How does Webacy come in and solve a situation like this?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss. It's actually a very similar situation that inspired the crypto will, which is one of Webacy's products, and one of our very first products at Webacy, actually, to kind of solve this exact issue. Because over time, again, more assets on chain, this is only going to become a bigger problem over time. So the way we decided to solve this in particular was creating an on-chain will. So right now, I think, unfortunately, so few U.S. adults at least have a will in general because we're young and we think we're invincible and so on, and we're hit with the reality that anything can happen to us at any time. And so creating a will in general, I'll just put that PSA out there, is great for you. It's great for just like self-reflection and keeping tabs on the things you own. But we realized there needed to be an on-chain equivalence because with blockchain, as you know, passing things on is very difficult with access control, seed phrases, and so on. So with custody assets, so things in exchanges, Kraken, Coinbase, you can reach out to customer service, right? And it could take upwards of a year to get in touch with them, all the paperwork, verification, validation, and it's some, a person on the other end who has to help you through all of it. It's very difficult. But what we decided to build was a solution for self-custody. So our crypto will, a user can come in, assign assets to beneficiary wallets, designate those beneficiary wallets, and then we have a proprietary kind of an on-chain dead man switch activity monitor that actually tracks your on-chain activity, can verify, communicates with the user if you want to give us any personal information like your email to ping you. And then we have that whole management system post-activity, post-end of life to help your beneficiaries recover the funds. So that's on that side. We're also wanting to get in touch with kind of the centralized exchanges because this is tech that could be utilized across the board.
This is beyond useful, and I'm not going to reveal everything, but my wife and I, we have these conversations all the time where I control the majority of finances with in our family, and she's like, everything gets paid. I know that, but God forbid, where the heck is like the passcode for the gas company, the electric bill? And she knows that I'm in the crypto space, and we started to have these conversations. And I explained this product to her, and she's an attorney, so obviously she's naturally inquisitive, so she started asking very similar questions. And there's such a practicality to this. As we onboard more folks into it, this is a reality, and this is the early stages here. So definitely a pioneer. I assume there's other products out there in the space. Where's that point of differentiation?
Yeah, so in terms of the crypto will product, there's actually not too much out there. So there's a couple protocols that are very crypto native that you can actually lock your assets within a smart contract. There's a wrapping technique. There's a couple different social aspects that go into unwrapping it and so on. Staking, tokens, all of the stuff that makes it a little bit difficult for Web 2 people to understand and access. So there's that. And then the really good custodial solution for Bitcoin specifically is Casa, so keys.casa. And so they have a really good system. I think it's within the higher tier for inheritance planning. So that is a paid service. But I know that they work exclusively with Bitcoin. I think they're going to start to expand into other areas too, but that's a really good option, especially if you have a lot of assets. Just
one question, and going back to the organization, in those early days, and I'd love to ask, founders is, what was one of those early mistakes that you made that you're glad you made that mistake? Because you're probably not going to make it again.
I wish there were more mistakes that I was glad to make. I've made so many mistakes at this point, and I continue to make them basically every day.
And something with building out the team, the org, the product, hiring.
Yeah, I think one might have been exploring a little too many options, because I think a lot of people give advice to early entrepreneurs to focus, right? Focus, focus, focus. And I made the mistake of being endlessly curious, trying so many different things. But I think I'm actually grateful for that, because my knowledge base of the area has expanded significantly. And I also met a lot of people who have been extremely helpful, but also learned so much about the nuances of it that I might have otherwise not have known if we just started super small. So that one I would try to make again.
And with the, crypto and Web3, we're known to have some degens, if anybody's ever heard. And so, What can you talk about the importance in security of digital assets and being proactive versus reactive when it comes to security and risk mitigation?
Oh yeah, we have a couple degens on our team, and it helps to dog food our technology, which is great. I myself have gone through a degen period and have calmed down significantly. But yeah, I mean, especially within blockchain, as you know, like recovery is almost impossible. So if you send something to the wrong wallet, you're not going to get it back. If you list something incorrectly and someone buys it, you're not going to get paid for that. There's no police to go get something back for you if someone steals your car. I mean, in San Francisco, you'd never find your car again in the first place, but I digress. Yeah, and so that's why in crypto, specifically in blockchain, since it cannot be reversed at the moment, that's why mitigation and pre-planning is so much more important. And I think people are starting to wake up to that. I don't know how many more people have to get hacked. I don't know how many more Twitter threads and spaces we have to go through for people to wake up to it. I think truly it's on kind of the companies to integrate security products ahead of time. So protect the users before they know they need protection, right? So that's also what we're focusing on as a company too.
Yeah, how can we make security sexy again? Like, I feel like that's just all that's missing for some reason. Like, it's just not the coolest thing. So they think.
So they should do a Super Bowl ad next year. That worked out well last year, right? That worked out real well.
Yeah, 100%.
Just follow Larry David. Whatever Larry David, just get him as your spokesperson.
Hey, he was spot on though, was he not? He was spot on.
Pretty good.
Not bad, yeah.
But I digress. So to that end, as I promised the audience, let's talk Dead Man Switch, Panic Button, and Wallet Watch. What are those three products? And how do they protect crypto users?
Yes, great segue. The Wallet Watch product, again, this is our free product. Anyone can sign up for it. Anyone can use it. Other products right now, we're still kind of keeping it in like a partnership and Grimmy holders only kind of category as we build and continue to iterate and really just serve the core users that we have. But Wallet Watch can be used by anyone. So this one, you sign up with your wallet, you set up your phone or email or both if you want to. You do have to verify to prove that you own it. And then anytime a transaction occurs with your wallet or involving your wallet, you'll get a message or a notification. So this could be things like sending things, receiving things, being involved in a transaction. We had a case the other day where a user sent us a confusing Wallet Watch notification, and we found out that some malicious smart contract had sent her like a zero USDC transaction, right? So it's just something to monitor, but it's very useful because you're not going to catch this. Like, when's the last time? Like, the only thing that you know what happens on chain is if you go to OpenSea and look and see an NFT is missing, or you go to Etherscan and look through your list of stuff, but you do that maybe every 6 months.
And how many people can even decipher what that says?
Exactly. So we're trying to make that process easier and make the knowledge more nascent in our everyday lives. So that's Wallet Watch. It's one of my personal favorite products that we have. Backup Wallet. This is for losing access to your wallet. So embarrassingly, yes, from the past when I had wallets, I've lost the seed phrase, probably lost some ETH in there. It just happens. We had someone whose house got flooded and they lost the seed phrase written down on pieces of paper. You have people who just forget their passwords. We had one guy who got a new computer, deleted MetaMask from their Chrome profile. It synced to their new computer and they lost their MetaMask. Yeah. Oh my God. So anything can happen.
Anything. The littlest
anything
of things.
Can really happen. Yes, exactly. So the backup wallet, you actually pre-approve which assets you want to protect to a backup wallet. Your backup wallet being something the user owns and operates. So my ledger is my backup wallet to my MetaMask, for example. And then I have something to back up my ledger. And then that is kind of the backup wallet, pretty straightforward. If you lose access, you sign in with your backup wallet and recover those assets.
Just real quick, is that an automatic transfer or is that self-direct? Like is that self-directed by the...
Yeah, it's self-activated. So the user would actually, trigger the recovery of the assets that they pre-protected.
Okay. So
we can't do anything. That's even the best part is us as a company, we can't access any of your assets, your protections, none of it, which just keeps us in that nice gray area of protection and regulation. So the panic button, this one is for the use case of loss, of actually like either protection against hacking, you feel like you got hacked, maybe there's a vulnerability in the space that you're unclear about. Do you guys remember that Solana hack that happened a couple months ago? It was like a Slope wallet issue where the Slope wallet, the seed phrases were like revealed and then people were getting their wallets drained. But we didn't know at the time during like 24 hours what the actual cause of the drainage was. So people thought it was just Solana. And it wasn't Solana. It was just wallets created through a particular piece.
Yep, that's right.
the best course of action during those 24 hours was to transfer everything to a new Solana wallet or a different wallet. And this is where the panic button would have been perfect. So the panic button allows you to one click, basically evacuate all of your assets to your backup.
Is that available for retail right now, or is that just with select partnerships?
It's available. So if you want it for free, our Grammys holders get access. So our Grammys, this is our NFT access token. We minted out the collection last year. But this is kind of just our core user base. They give us direct feedback. We have a lot of communication with them. And then we have partners. So partners like Metaverse HQ, Zen Academy 333, pretty big projects that want to protect their users can actually utilize us if they hold that partner token.
Let's take a little bit of a left turn on that. The idea of a company issuing, putting out an NFT project, which is now developing a community of active, engaged customers and users for feedback. This is the next phase of feedback, right? Like this is the next level here. What are some of those key learnings that you're getting from your community? It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in general, we were kind of taking a gamble in the beginning by doing an NFT access gating kind of thing, because this is before NFT access token gating was regular. Because now people do it. It's pretty known. But it was awesome. So it was awesome for many reasons, and then we learned a lot of things for many reasons. But it's awesome because these people who have minted the NFT, the Grammys, are in our Discord, and they're the ones actively utilizing our product. So every time there's a bug, there's a typo, they will send us in a ticket directly because they want to see us succeed and they want more products and services from us. And so it just creates this cohort of people we can rely on to test new products. They get to see all the new stuff before it comes out. They're very forgiving because they understand we're an early stage startup that will make mistakes and so on. And so it's been amazing to build with them because, again, we're a team that's very small, but it feels like our team has expanded to all of these people because they are giving us their time and their attention.
I want to stay here real fast because I freaking love the Grammys. Not Grimies, guys, Grammys. For Grim Reapers. So I love that you guys created a way to have this difficult conversation, right? Can you explain to the audience what Grammys is and how you guys thought about the concept to create a better environment to have these conversations with people?
Well, I'm glad you like them. Some people people love them. Some people hate them because it makes them uncomfortable. But Grammys, yeah, they're kind of modeled after the Grim Reaper. They're these cartoon-looking, 2-foot-tall little Grim Reaper characters. The artist is a fantastic lady named Grace Lee, who's been working with us to develop it. Yeah, it was a really great project, and it was actually her first NFT project too. So we were learning together. But it's kind of, again, from a philosophical background. I am Japanese, where circle of life, that kind of topic isn't exactly as taboo as it is in the West. Also working for Cirque, you know that you're faced with dangerous things all the time. And so it's something that has come up before, and you talk about it as a team, and it's something that is part of your everyday life. And I think that our lives could be so much more fruitful and connected if we were open to speaking about things like our life and our length of our lives and the things that we do during our lifetime. So, have those conversations with our families. And part of the Grammys was to say, hey, remember memento mori, right? Remember life and then remember death. And I think it really just expands upon what we can enjoy as humans.
I love that. I'm definitely much more a celebration of life versus the traditional funeral aspect that you get. So I absolutely love that you guys did that. Kind of segueing this into kind of the startup portion of all this. One question I get asked so much as a recruiting consultant from candidates is what it's like working actually at a blockchain startup. And a quote of yours encapsulated this for me so well. And so in my research, I heard you say this, and it makes total sense. I just never thought about it. You said every single new hire that you bring into a startup changes the company culture. So you have to be patient and rigorous. And that brings up something that me and Adam tell all our clients, slow down to speed up. So can you discuss what it's like building in a bear market, and what's the difference between, say, working at Microsoft day-to-day versus a startup?
It's night and day, I would say. I think anyone who has experience working for a really big company knows that, especially the role you enter into, there's typically a management tier hierarchy system. There's a lot of people within one department. You get shifted departments. Your scale of work or the extent of your work is kind of set. You know exactly what you're entering into. Whereas at a startup, it's almost the opposite, and every startup is different, of course. So I can only really speak to how we are. But we're very flat right now because we only have 8 to 10 people. And so everyone has an area that they're in charge of, but they also cross over to help each other out. They collaborate between teams. They They have to work with pretty much everyone in the company so that the communication's there and we can move faster together. So that's why I think hiring is so difficult, especially during the bear market. Well, I have to say there's actually a difficulty and a positivity to hiring in the bear. So one is that the people still wanting to work for a Web3 company in the bear truly do want to work in Web3 and in crypto. The hard part is I think because of all the layoffs, there's a lot of great talent in the space that are also looking for jobs too. So you have a lot more people to choose from. But then again, it's tough because very talented people have left the space because they don't see blockchain or Web3 as secure or stable as an employment opportunity. So yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Definitely, yes, that's definitely something we have seen in our day to day as well. And again, one of the things from startup is you got to raise capital. You have to have a runway in order to keep things going. And one of the things I am profoundly impressed with, Maika, is the capital you guys raised in a bear market. What were some of those key factors from that investors were looking for? In your startup, especially given all the calamities that have happened around our space, how difficult was that to raise, in a bear market? And how much did you guys raise?
Thank you. First of all, it was extraordinarily difficult, I have to say. And my only comparison to that is raising our pre-seed at the end of 2021, where the market dynamics were quite different. So you can kind of understand the difference. So in this seed round, we raised $4 million total. So that combined with our pre-seed puts us just over $5 million raised in venture capital funding. This is my first time again raising and funding. So my experiences are probably quite different from people that have raised a bunch and raised a ton. But the partners that we were able to find are so fantastic, and they have such good vision and understanding of both the markets short-term and long-term that I'm super excited to be partnered with them. I think one key thing was that we are building, Webacy is in the crypto security space, right? You can't go to a single investor and they all understand that crypto security is something that needs to exist. You're not talking to a company where you're wondering, okay, what value do you add to the world? What's the point? There's no question here. So we could easily kind of pass that point of a pitch and just dive into the meat of how are we doing? How are we building? What's next for us? And so I think that moved things along quite a bit.
Awesome. And in terms of, just actionable advice, given that you've gone through the process, it was the first time, I'm sure there was a ton of points of learning for you. What advice would you give to any blockchain founders who are trying to raise funds in a bear market right now?
Try not to. I'm kidding. I think really focus on the basics of a sustainable company before trying to raise, right? You can't raise on fluff and an idea. I mean, maybe some people can. We've seen some people raise on just that still. But for the most part, make sure that you have traction, make sure the value is there and that you can show that people are willing to utilize your product, maybe even willing to pay. That's even better. I think just basic business things that people kind of forgot about in the last couple of years of high VC investment time. So just making sure you have a valid business idea, model, execution is probably my clearest advice at the moment.
And then just a final question, in terms of outlook and moving things to the future. What's your outlook for 23, 24 for Web3 crypto space? As we're still within a bear market, but it feels like things are starting to progress in the right way. It seems like regulation is starting to get there. What do you think is going to be happening here over the next couple of years in our space?
I am incredibly bullish on what's coming out. I think we're seeing a ton of very high quality builders in the space, really high quality projects. I mean, everyone we talk to is so smart and is approaching it from such again, I'll use a term again, but value add perspective. All of the companies I'm speaking to, they're building for real problems. And so I think when the markets start to pick up again, and I don't know if we're seeing signs of that, signs of life lately, especially within the NFT space, I'm very, very excited for what's to come. And I think we are catching up to try to build enough base and enough security guardrails so that when the bull market hits again very soon, that people are safer and we don't run into the same issues that we hit before.
I love that. You touched on it exactly. And I think it's low hanging fruit, but I do say it a lot. My mom and dad are not going to come into this space until they feel some type of semblance of safeness. And we want everybody, right? We don't just want a certain population of people. We want mass adoption. So I love what Webacy is doing and love that you are going to be a huge reason why people feel safe to be in this space. So thank you. So we are almost to the end of our show. And before we wrap up, we do like to do a quick lightning round of questions for the audience to get a better understanding of where your heart lies. So I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and for each one, please answer one or the other. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Ramen or tonkatsu curry?
Tonkatsu curry? Man, this is supposed to be rapid. Let's
Slow
do
fire.
tonkatsu curry. Yeah. Okay. I'll go faster. Sorry.
I didn't say it wouldn't be tough. Stanford or Cirque Du Soleil?
Cirque.
Nice. Proof of work or proof of stake?
This is so hard. Proof of stake.
There you go. Microsoft or Apple?
Apple. All of my products are Apple. I love Apple.
ChatGPT or Bard?
ChatGPT.
Nice. Founder or employee?
Founder.
Decentralization or speed?
Speed.
Nice. Ethereum NFTs or Bitcoin NFTs?
Ethereum NFT.
I want to ask you about ordinals, but I'll leave that away. Degen NFTs or AI tokens?
Degen NFTs.
There you go. And then last one is a question. Which has been more impactful to Webacy's success and why? The crypto bear market or the crypto bull market?
Bull market, because that's where we entered.
Nice. Love it. All right, Maika, we do end our show the same way every week. And so for the last couple of months, I have been using a ton of ChatGPT. As somebody who studied AI, I have a feeling that you probably use it as well. And so I wake up every morning, I ask it to give me a joke. Sometimes it's good, it makes me laugh. Sometimes it's just ChatGPT. So I asked it to give me a joke. I'm going to give you the prompt and I'll tell you the joke.
That's later.
It's funny.
Too soon.
All right. So the prompt was, minutes later, why did the Cirque Du Soleil performer start a cybersecurity company? Anyway. To protect all the high wire data transfers and ensure that no one comes crashing down.
No.
Now you have to do it, Adam. You have to.
Wow. At least we know comedians will not lose their job.
At least we know.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle will always be having a job. That is correct. Absolutely. Well, Maika, that is our end of our show. Thank you so very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And to everybody at home, please check out Maika on Twitter and Instagram at Maika Isogawa and Webacy at webacy.com and on Instagram and Twitter at mywebacy. And please, if you want to stay up to date with the happenings of your digital wallet day to day, sign up for Wallet Watch at www.webacy.com/wallet-watch. And then, to everyone listening at home, I greatly appreciate you for joining us on the Immutable Mindset. Please follow us on all social media channels at Immutable Show. Subscribe, comment, and network. Thank you for joining us. Catch us next week for more, and take care. Bye, y'all.